Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first class and course on technology and the future of medicine for fall of 2018. So we've been calling this the accessible future, which is a future that is easy to understand. That's also one of the questions on the test there. So anyway, but it's an important concept. Because if you make the future so inaccessible that you have to read 17 books to even begin to understand it, it's really hard to make much progress. So the quiz, the ideas behind the quiz, you can leave some of the questions blank. And the content and format is similar to the only real exam of the course, which is the midterm exam on October 30th, which will also have multiple choice questions. Does not count toward your grade, but allows us to see how much you already know and how much your knowledge will be improved, of course. So since some of the questions are exactly the same as on the midterm, we can compare before and after effects, see if we're actually accomplishing anything in the course. And it helps us to structure future lectures in the course so we'll better serve your needs, figuring out what you know and what you don't. So the objectives for this lecture is to outline the basic plan of the course, begin to introduce basic concepts of the course, including the technological singularity, exponential change, existential risk, the accessible future. If you think of the final presentation and final paper in this course, it could not possibly be like any paper or presentation you've given for any other course, because this course is fundamentally different in its emphasis of the long-range future, the exponential nature of change heading toward that long-range future. So if you're taking the course because you just think it'll teach you about technology and medicine, and if you're going to have that the content of your final paper and presentation, that will not work, and you will not do well in the course. So you need to rethink this. So I used to say there are only 2 courses like this in the world. I guess the way to think of it, there are 4 courses like this in the world, but the other 3 are all taught by professional keynote speakers. And you may already recognize that I'm not such a person. I'm a full-time academic, but I'm not a professional keynote speaker. So I'm the only full-time academic teaching a course like this about machine replacement of human labor, the fact that potentially in 2029, which is only 11 years, machines will be as smart as individual humans, and in 2045 as smart as the whole human race, and take over the future agenda of the world, and you can only understand what's going on if you're buddies with the machine and cooperating with them or merging with them or something. These may be shocking ideas. We're not sure about the time course exactly, but in addition to the fact it may take longer than I said, it also could take a shorter time than I said. So things could occur quite quickly. Okay, so we usually have really poorly recognized holiday to celebrate. We've always had Future Day in the winter term. So Future Day is March 1st, and recently we have been celebrating either Diversity Day or Longevity Day, and I'm not sure Diversity Day is going to exist in this fall, so we're going to celebrate Longevity Day November 1st. Longevity is less of a big deal in Canada than almost any other first world country. So if you have any designs on taking over Longevity Day, making it your project, you could actually do that, because like people are looking for somebody to attach their name to Longevity Day in Canada, whereas there already is somebody in most other countries. So for some reason, it's not a very Canadian thing to be interested in Longevity Day, but we try celebrating that. I wanted to also explain about mentor and topic selection. So if you are a very confident person, self-contained, and don't need much help, that's perfectly fine. So you can just tell me that you don't really need a mentor, or I can be, by default, be your mentor for the final presentation and paper. But if you're not very confident and you feel that you may need a lot of suggestions and help and stuff, then you can pick anyone who's ever taught in the course, and that includes students younger than you are who've taught in the course, because we have a great spectrum of people teaching in this course. You pick any of them as your mentor and ask them for advice as you prepare the final presentation and final paper. The lecture schedule that I submitted to you is quite fluid. We don't really know what's going to happen on September 13th at this moment. I think Patrick Polarski is speaking on that day, but he's not fully come back from vacation yet, so I'm not absolutely sure. And the later you get in the lecture schedule, the more fluid and uncertain it is. But within a few weeks, we should have it all nailed down and solid. So the end of the lecture schedule includes presentations by you guys, usually 2 student presentations per day. That's 20-minute presentation, 10-minute discussion. Sometimes the students decide that they would like to put most of the student presentations at the end and not have so many days devoted to them. Maybe devote some days to just staying home and preparing your final paper and stuff like that. So that's also an option, as are social events. Some terms, the students do a lot of things like that, where we have parties in the evenings and the weekends, including educational content, poetry, music, food and drink. And other terms, the students have no interest in that. They have real lives outside of this course with kids and jobs and all kinds of things. And it seems just ridiculous to do anything related to the course outside of regular class time. So you guys can figure out which of those 2 categories you fall in, or somewhere in between. We have a student group, University of Alberta student group associated with the course, but it's inactive at the moment. But we have somebody who'd like to be the president of that group if we have an active group again. Her name is Lakini Bat. And so that's another thing we could do if you wish. You know that a University of Alberta student group can't exist without funding. So there is money in the bank that could be used to spend on these social events and stuff like that. But if you decide that is not for you this term, we can just save the money and use it next term or the term after, when you get a group of students who are really into this social event stuff. So the course format, 60-minute class periods, 80-minute class periods, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You each pick a special project, has to be related to the main themes of the course. But that then is what you devote most of your time to, and most of your grade comes from that. So 30% of your grade is from your final presentation, 40% from the final paper, and 20% the midterm, and 10% class participation. If you prove to be quite shy and nobody wants to say anything, that's also within the spectrum of the course, but most times we've had a group of students who are really quite outgoing and came these little speeches prepared and all that sort of thing. So if that's you, that's cool, but you'll also see We have various provisions for the shy student. If you don't want to do a face-to-face final presentation, you can do a video of it, and then present your video here, and then answer questions live following the presentation of the video. And if you're too shy to ask questions out loud, you can text them to me and all that kind of thing. So we made every accommodation for the potential shy student, even though we haven't had very many shy students. So the course can be just another course for you. That would be fine. It can also be life-changing and like never-ending, so you can keep coming back again and again, sort of like Gagan and Ishida are doing. You can end up teaching in the course. The topic of your final paper can be the topic for the rest of your entire life, and you devote more and more time to it, and or that just seems ridiculous to you, and you have no intention of changing your life at all during this course. You just want to take the course, and that is also fine. So there's a whole spectrum of things there. We do deduct 5 points per day if your paper is late, and this is a real deduction, so it's probably important, it's in your interest to have your paper submitted on time. The format is not particularly important. You'll find that we recommend a format, but I don't pay too much attention to that, and I like surprises, I like newness and stuff. If you hit me with something that's quite different from anything I've encountered before, I react well to that, even though it may not exactly fit the recommended format for the paper or presentation. So we've given you some model presentations and model papers that you can look at. But you'll find that they vary quite a bit, and some of them slightly violate the suggested format rules. The technological singularity, you need to know this well enough that when the hour gets late in the evening and you're talking away at things, that you can still hold forth about your views on the technological singularity. And so this is the idea that there will come a time when machines are smarter than we are. They can then self-improve very quickly. So when they're a little bit more intelligent than us, they can become way more intelligent than us very quickly. They don't need human help in order to do that. And it has some analogies to physics phenomena around a black hole and so on. So that's where the idea of the singularity comes from the uncertainty. We cannot really predict what the future will be like after this point. Yes?
So with technological singularity, does this have ties to machine learning? When the term machine learning was used to say that machines build on their environment and their mistakes and continue improving on themselves, is this tied in with the concept of technological singularity?
Yeah, I guess machines in a general sense. You can imagine that a machine that might not look anything like any machine you ever saw before, but it's non-biological in origin, and yeah, so that's the idea. That so it's related to machine learning and all that sort of thing, deep learning. Okay. And if you didn't know anything about the singularity before February 2011, that could be understood. It was kind of unknown before that month. But in February 2011, two things happened. The singularity was on the cover of Time magazine, and Watson, the computer Watson, beat the top human players of the TV game show Jeopardy! And sort of everything has been changed since then. Watson has been trying to rebrand now in terms of providing benefit in health and other areas. You may wonder where the specifics of such an odd course came from. They came from people just like you. In May of 2011, we had 2 focus groups, one with undergraduate students, one with graduate students, and we really listened to what the students said. Students said that the course should be potentially open to the general public, that it could lead to this life-changing, allegiance on the part of students where they just, drop everything and follow their project in the course for the rest of their lives, or not. But that it also should involve telling the truth, not holding back. Like not thinking that the truth is really too shocking to tell you guys that we have to hold something back. We should not be afraid to reveal the full spectrum of the truth, from the worst apocalypse we can imagine to the most wonderful utopia, kind of everything in between, and which way we think things are going at the moment, kind of thing. And not surprisingly, the undergraduates had lots of questions about grading. And the graduate students didn't ask a single question about grading. But in the end, we ended up with a graduate course with mostly undergraduates taking it. Now, the 9 of you, I think 3 of you are graduate students, 1 is a special student, and the rest are undergraduates. So it still is predominantly undergraduates. So it's a graduate course, graded like a graduate course, which means that if everybody does well, they can all get a high grade. There's no requirement to curve grades. It may amuse you to know that the greatest discussion about grades, people coming to me unhappy with their grades, recently has been people getting an A where they wanted an A+, and they're really upset by it. and so it's not the kind of discussion that I thought would occur very much, but it does. So anyway, if you just coast, there's an occasional student who's heard this course is a lot of fun and no work, so they just come in and coast, and you won't do very well. You'll get about a C or a C+. Which, depending upon your program, might be fine. But anyway, so I don't recommend just coasting. The main reason is the other students are so cool, and if you just coast, they're going to realize that you are not pulling your share of the load here, and so that I think is a significant disincentive. So over time, the courses sessions have developed a sort of pedagogical rhythm, leading to self-organized structure that we have now. Now, we end up, notice we're shooting video, but that camcorder also, from the video stream, captures still images of symmetrical smiles, hand gestures, all this sort of thing. It's sort of proprietary, exactly what it's looking for. But in a really unsuccessful human encounter, it may not take a single picture in an hour. But if people are really having fun and it's a really good encounter, it can take 200, 300 pictures an hour that are better than any that a human being could take, like this one here. So if you think of trying to capture a moment like that as a human photographer, it's hard. But because there's no delay, it's basically instantaneous from the software deciding that that is a good pose to actually taking the shot. There's no delay whatsoever. Whereas you'd have to think about it, make your finger do something, and so on. And maybe by the time you actually push the shutter, the moment would be gone. So that's another feature. Often the students' questions and the discussion period after the presentation is better than the main presentation. And if you don't want to do this, but if you did, if you go back and watch all the videos. The first term that I taught the course, I talked a lot, and my comments were always better than the students that term. And I thought, well, this is a ridiculous way to live a life, doing all this talking, right? But the next term, the students' questions were definitely better than my, discussion questions. And it is sort of continued that way. So, although that's what I'm looking for, it's only 10% of your grade, and if all of you prove to be shy and not, reactive, that it doesn't pull your grades down very much. That's what happened last term. We'd have a really excellent presentation, and waiting for these fired up students to ask questions, and they just sit there. Holy smokes, how can you just sit there? But anyway, so we've had that experience. If that's also what you guys do, we can cope with that. But we're hoping that the opposite is the case, that you kind of like the idea that what you say might be better than anything else in that 80-minute period. So anyway, when the course began, the air handling machine was louder than anybody speaking, and the lighting was terrible, and the video was terrible, and so on. And now we've sort of gone the opposite direction, so we have technically very high quality videos, and so it is definitely in some instances better than real life. The Dean of Arts presented here once and definitely felt that the video of her is like much better than she looks in real life. So, and for some students, it can be life-changing. Aisha Harian gave a talk here, and that went on the internet maybe 4 days later. She got a phone call from a very well-known guy in New York City offering her a job. And basically, it was the major change in her life going to New York. And yeah, so I'm not guaranteeing that's going to happen to any of you, but it could. So there. Okay, then there's Jonathan White. Jonathan White is one of the best teachers in the Faculty of Medicine. He's the only surgeon who ever won the 3M Teaching Award, which is probably the highest award for teaching. And you probably know there's a video of his that's the first thing you see on the main website for the course, and the video starts sort of abruptly. And the reason for that is that that's not how that lecture began, but he began playing a copyrighted song. We don't have any rights to disseminate this copyrighted song all around the world. So was he ever surprised when I stripped that off and started afterwards? So that's what you have. But he eventually, what goes around comes around, whatever you want to say, he likes that song so much that when he did a TEDx talk, he sang it himself. So it wasn't copyrighted, it's him, right? But that's a feature of his TEDx talk. And that TEDx talk, the first 9 minutes or so, are a required part of this course. And so I think now that he's teaching on October 18th, which is before the midterm. But even in courses where you don't get him until after the midterm, you're still responsible for that first 9 minutes of his TEDx talk. Okay, and then there's Rich Sutton. If you know Avenue Magazine, so the latest issue of Avenue Magazine is all about artificial intelligence, and Rich Sutton is in charge of Google DeepMind Alberta, and so there are not one but 2 pictures of him, sort of life-size pictures in Avenue Magazine. And he's important to you because what is on this slide is required knowledge. Now it's different from what he will tell you, because he's such a luminary now that during the 80-minute period where he teaches, he sort of answers your questions and all that sort of thing. He may not talk about this aspect of AI safety, but you are required to know what he thinks about this. So in January 2015, there was a very high-profile artificial intelligence safety meeting in Puerto Rico, and there were 79 people there. 78 of whom thought that the machines are smarter than we are. They should be enslaved, kept in a box, prevented from doing anything useful, just keep them enslaved so they can't harm humanity. And Rich Sutton believes that when machines are smarter than we are, should treat them as equals, just as we would another kind of race of human beings, and include them in our circle of empathy, and give up the idea that because you're human, you're entitled, and you should be in charge of the earth forever, even if there's another entity out there that could manage the earth much better than you could. So it's important for you to know this. The Future and All That Jazz is a poetry and music initiative spearheaded by myself and singer Mallory Chipman. And it is a way to interest people in thinking about subjects in science that they would probably not sit still for a lecture on. And it works pretty well. And the Termis organization, Tissue Engineering Regenerative Medicine International Society, has now booked us as sort of their permanent entertainment for their meetings. It's kind of cool. So that's what we do kind of between semesters. Gary Goldsand and ethics is a very important part of this course. You'll find that it relates to practically everything we talk about every single time. And so you'll get to know him very well. And he's not just resting on his laurels. He told me today that he's going to update all of his lectures. So anyway, everything will be fresh and new. You can find the previous lectures on the course on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user Kim Solez, and the course website, you probably already know, singularitycourse.com. It takes a while for us to finalize the lecture schedule, and in that interim period, singularitycourse.com will probably link to last term's course, this term's course, until we solidify what the lecture schedule for this term's course is. Okay, and so, course content includes technological singularity, existential risk, artificial intelligence, genomics, nanotech, ways to optimize the positive outcomes for humanity and the coevolution of humans and machines, the influence of these considerations on medicine of the future. So many of the lectures are not very medical, so those of you with no medical background will not have much difficulty. The anthrax lecture is probably the most medical of the lectures, and the person who teaches that is going on a long hunting holiday that includes most of this term, but not all. So I think he's going to lecture to you toward the end of November, maybe like the last lecture in the course of the net. It's become between kind of, you know, Ashita and him. Right now I think Ashita has the last lecture in the course, but maybe Bob Rennie. So most of the rest of the lectures you'll be able to easily understand, and the medical terms that you do learn are useful for you to know. You may wonder what the influence of student feedback is, and it's quite interesting. For a long time, the student feedback was quite telegraphic, just a few words here and there, and you know, they would check the check boxes, but they didn't write anything. And about 3 years ago, that all changed. And the students who were taking the course that term just wrote books and volumes of just, and another thing, you should do this, you should do that. And one of the things that they said, which may shock you, but it's really influenced us a lot, is that the Faculty of Science advisors felt that the course was too easy, too fluffy, too superficial. So it needs more rigor. And the students will like it better if their advisors like it better, because they don't like taking a course that their advisors don't respect. So that's when we added the midterm exam and also had slightly more medical content, because at that time there was really only one lecture at any substantial number of medical terms. So now there are about 5. So my 2 regenerative medicine lectures and the 2 nanotech lectures and then the anthrax lecture. Those are the 5 that have medical terms, but those terms are not absolutely required to understand what's going on. Problem with audience heterogeneity. I'm proud of the audience heterogeneity that we have. And we've always had that. We've had people as old as 80, 82 taking this course, sitting here. We've had people as young as 15. So, you wonder how either ends of those spectrums would get in the room. But when you say the course is open to the general public, that includes a lot of people. And sometimes, when we had a substantial number of people who were not registered students, the best questions reliably always came from them. So that was kind of cool. So that's another side of the course. I think that we are able to satisfy both groups, people who have a lot of advanced knowledge, who already know a lot about AI and so on, seem to be quite happy in the course, as well as people who don't know what AI is. If you listen to Jonathan Schaefer's lectures from past years, he talks about all the different things that the letters AI can stand for. So it's much more than just artificial intelligence. So then there are lots of other innovations that are new in 2018. There is material from this course being used to teach the first year medical students. I'm teaching them now, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning. There's a student group from the course, Future Day, Longevity Day, Tuesday evenings. If you don't have anything to do and if you want something quite different, you can go to the poetry reading at the Nook, where I have a sort of infrastructure, almost janitorial role. I set up the chairs, I set up the lighting. It's sort of like this course, right? I'm setting up the camcorder, I'm capturing video of the poets reciting there and then editing the video. And there are people, there are some of the best poets in town, and some of them are such very good poets because they're really living life on the edge. All sorts of things that in your life are settled, you never have to worry about, are never settled for them. And so every single day, they have challenges of the type that you just would never ever have. So it can be interesting if you ever want to join me there. So you know that on the CKUA there's a program called The Road Home, which is both in the early morning and late evenings. And so that's kind of a part of my life. And I organized Leonard Cohen meetings with the guy who runs that program, Bob Chomick. So these are just optional things that you can take part in. And even though the next Termis meeting is not until December 2019, we're already preparing for it. And so there are a whole lot of things that you might conceivably want to be a part of or help us with. Marcus Hutter. Marcus Hutter. Yes?
Sorry, what's the termist meeting?
It's Tissue Engineering Regenerative Medicine International Society. It's the largest international society of regenerative medicine. Mallory Chipman and I and 5 of Edmonton's best poets performed there last time in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that was a big success. Marcus Hutter, if you talk to any AI researcher, they'll say they don't know him particularly well, and he's not really one of us, you know. I always thought that was kind of cool. So I encountered him early in the course. He's sort of an AI researcher that marches to the beat of a different drummer. And the other kind of astounding about him is we had some videos with students talking with him, and he was so upset by the fact that these videos existed that he made me guarantee that they would never appear anywhere, that he would never have to do this again, and so on. So he's provided us with this sort of canned lecture. It's a slide tape thing where you just push a button and he'll talk to you throughout the slides. But he, unlike other people who enjoy direct interaction with U of A students like you, he hated it. I don't know quite why, but he really didn't like it. Also Jonathan Schaefer, the Dean of Science, who's stepping down as Dean of Science on the 1st of October, felt that the slide set that Marcus Hutter provided us is like the intellectually most challenging thing he's ever seen. And so if you find it a bit daunting, it's not that you can't understand what the words say, but you just can't figure out how logically the previous slide got to this slide. It's like you can't understand the thought process between slides. So we don't, there's only one lecture where we talk about that presentation, but I think it's stimulating for you in a lot of areas. He's the only person doing stuff. Other people just tell you that you can't predict what the singularity is going to be like. He not only tells you what it's going to be like, but he tells you what it's going to sound like, and that's also required. So you need to know what Marcus Hutter says the singularity is going to sound like. So that's an exam question. It's not a very hard one, but it's part of the required knowledge of this course. So how are we doing with this course? So if you think about Big Bang Theory, which is the most popular TV program in Canada and pretty popular worldwide, so it reaches about 80 million viewers, and so it has a similar content to this course. It's just they're making fun of things, and you know, it's humor. We're serious, but otherwise it's similar in content. So we have a long way to go. They reach 80 million, and our videos max out at about 5,000. This is 4,200 right now. It's our most popular Jonathan Schaefer videos are at 5,000 views. So we have a long way to go. I don't know, we're not really going for the 80 million, but I think you'll find there are unique ideas in this course that would benefit the rest of humanity to know about, and I solicit your thoughts about how we can reach more people with these ideas. So Marcus Hutter believes, and I think many other people do, that the challenge of unfriendly AI is probably exaggerated. It's not that when machines are smarter than we are that they're going to try to kill us. They might simply ignore us. They might not find us very interesting, might not see much reason to provide for us in the world and you know, take our welfare into account. So it's human insignificance that is really the big challenge. Marcus Hutter, for the first time, conjures up a picture of what the singularity will look like. Outside the singularity looking in, it will be like white noise, and inside the singularity, everything speeds up at the same rate and you may not notice anything. Even if initially our biological brains count for something, in our mental processes, very soon the processing power of the machine implants will become very, very, very much more important than our biological brains. And so biological brains become insignificant regardless of the friendliness of the AI. And it'll be kind of stuck in a dysphoric eternal youth, a caricature of what it's like to be young. So one way of thinking about being young is that you don't have much to lose from risk-taking. Right? And it's possible that if you felt really, really insignificant, you would feel that you have nothing to lose, right? And that if your brain implant is doing most of the heavy lifting anyway, and like if something happened to you, if you would just lose a few hours of your consciousness and you'd be right back going again, could be restarted again, then you might really feel completely insignificant, lacking identity, and engage in all sorts of dangerous pursuits. Aimlessness, lack of sense of purpose, whether real youth today also experiences dystopia due to poor economy, so on. So the challenge of producing friendly AI just becomes a small part of the much larger challenge of creating a friendly world in which humans still have lives of significance, and human history is retained and extended. So 6 years ago, the structure of this course became much simpler. So Singularity University became a beneficial for-profit corporation, which is a California kind of thing. They're still trying to make money, but trying to save the world and help everybody at the same time. So they became that kind of corporation, and they decided to buy up everything else that had the word singularity in it, but they didn't buy us. So we're independent singularity entities out there still. You know what Foxconn? Probably the device in your pocket was made in the Foxconn factory in China, whether it's Apple or Samsung or another popular device. And 7 years ago, they decided to get rid of most of their human workforce and replace them all with robots, but that didn't really happen. They only replaced half of the humans. That was still a lot. And the suicide rate went down. So, I mean, they had real problems before. It wasn't that much fun to work there. You may enjoy the device that you're carrying in your pocket, but it may not have been that much fun to actually make it in this factory. So, So that's one way of thinking about life in general. And what about medicine? So we could eliminate all diseases known today and still have a much worse situation than exists today. Could imagine a world in which the only diseases that exist are targeted diseases of bioterrorism, where only the bad guys have the antidote and that sort of thing. So one of the reasons to take a course like this is to see if you can't gently nudge the future in a good direction rather than bad. So maybe we could end up with basically no diseases, and then that brings us to medicine writ large, which is an idea that I've talked about. That's what physicians will do when there aren't any diseases anymore. There's still lots to do because every human being wants to be better, right? So human improvement, not just physical improvement, but moral, spiritual, everything about you could be made better. And so that presumably will be what physicians mainly do, and then helping to make society better. So 2045 is only a short time from now. So what will medical careers be like? Social responsibility is an important aspect. Rudolf Virchow, when he was 27 in 1848, said that physicians are the natural attorneys of the poor, and the social problems should be largely solved by them. The United Way has poverty simulation exercises, and I went to one. It was a remarkable experience, not so much because of what happened when I was there, but what happened when I got back. So I was very proud that I sort of kept my home. I mean, most of the people during the 2-hour period, they lost their home and all this kind of thing. So I was a pretty good kind of impoverished person in this simulation. So I get back to the hospital eager to talk about this, and I discover everybody around me cannot imagine going to something where you pretend to be impoverished. It's like the stupidest thing they could ever imagine, and it's exactly what their whole life has been structured to get away from. So why would you ever pretend to do something like that? And that's really, really interesting. And it gets to the question of, are the physicians of today the best people to manage this medicine writ large if they are not comfortable about thinking about things like the link between poverty and disease and so on. So, how did I get interested in this stuff? In 2010, I became the only full-time university faculty member taking the Singularity University Executive course. And most of the other people are like government officials, corporate CEOs, people from the private side of business. And it was very much life-changing. I got the idea that there should be a course. I kept pushing for a course about this stuff within faculty of medicine, and finally I realized I'm here, I'm the one who seems to want this course to be done the most, so maybe I should do it. So that's how the course began. So, yeah, so there is Berlin, Metzko in Budapest, the Bart's London Future Medicine course, which is Singularity University based, and then Daniel Kraft teaching Future Medicine within Singularity University and me. So those are the 4 entities kind of teaching a course like this at the moment. So in a post-scarcity world of abundance, medicine will be about enhancement of all people know about disease, and probably think about stopping aging, but have you thought about reversing aging? That is also possible, and we may get to that. We need to consider possibility of a post-scarcity world where what medicine would be like in such a singularity utopia. So this is the Moore's Law curve. You need to become very familiar with this, where even in a partially inebriated state, you could still talk about it, you know? So, yeah, and so 2029 is over here, where machines are as smart as one human, and then 2045 is as smart as the whole human race. This is based on price performance of computing. So Ray Kurzweil is the big name in this area. His books for the past 20 years have been reactions to criticisms of this idea. So if sometimes you get an idea that there's something wrong with his writing, you should realize he's full-time dealing with people like you. And if you write to him, he'll write back, and it'll be very informative reply, and you will learn a lot more from him than he learned from you. It's probably the argument you send him, he's heard it thousands of times before. But so he wrote a book in 1998, The Age of Spiritual Machines, and all of his books subsequently have been based on people writing and complaining about things about his first book, and so on. So he is quite flexible and aware of most such things. Moore's law is kind of muted in medicine. Why is that? Medicine is a highly regulated area of human society, and so also the rewards are different in medicine, and security is very important. So regulatory oversight, healthcare doesn't have the same financial rewards, and security always trumps information sharing. In the past year, IBM has discovered this idea of the mega macroscope, looking at the really big picture. And I'm happy to say it's an idea that I had back in 2004. So you can see me talking about this really big picture idea. So we need to envision the medicine of the future, combination of the small picture and the big picture. So my day job is as a kidney pathologist, looking through the microscope at kidney biopsies. So I look at very small things, but in this course we're talking about very, very big things as well. So these are the two courses I've talked about. And I seek suggestions on how to capture the imagination of the public, start everybody thinking about these matters. You may be proud to be in a course that relatively few people take, and there's no other course like it in any other university. But on the other hand, it would be slightly better if more people were taking it, more people knew about it. So how to help us with that. So it is 2:57, so we have until 3:20. So we have 23 minutes for discussion. And so any questions about the course, about what I presented? Yes?
Could you just go for one more time about the social responsibility of medicine?
Yeah, sure. So it may seem to you that like medicine is caused by specific things like bacteria and viruses. That disease processes are caused by specific things. Viruses, bacteria, toxins, genetic abnormalities, and so on. But you would be surprised how much the actual disease manifestations are influenced by whether the person is happy or sad or impoverished or well off or whatever. So that the social setting in which the patient is has a tremendous amount to do with whether they get ill when they get a certain infection and how ill they get and what the outcome is and so on. So that's the idea, that by improving society, by making society's goals better, you can make people healthier. And it's something this medical school is very much devoted to, even though I suppose of the people in the faculty of medicine, probably not all of them would be able to answer the question you just asked. They say, oh, I don't know. What does that mean, social responsibility of medicine? I have no idea. But it's part of our mandate from the regulatory bodies, the accrediting bodies for the faculty of medicine. They're looking for us to provide students with a sense of social responsibility for this. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really cool because like I have a cousin that actually works in medicine down in the United States, and then he went to medical school before there was a lot of the social talk and whatnot, so he
Right.
only learned about the biological implications
Right.
of disease and whatnot.
Ishita, could you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, say, where did that voice come from? Anyway, yes.
So I was just gonna comment. It was interesting because he told me he had to take a sociology course for the first time, like a basic undergraduate one, and I can kind of understand now that we're shifting towards more of a social outlook kind of medicine, about like food deserts and stratification within different societies. I think.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
if things go well, then the social responsibility part of this becomes really the most important piece. You know, that like if most of the common infectious diseases are no longer occurring, and you know people just become healthier and healthier, then the residual problems are going to be largely directly related to the problems of society. You know, people not having stable lives, not having places to live, not having food to eat, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it is really important. Yes.
There's also an interesting book, or there's an Edmontonian who used to be a past prof here, economic prof, and his name is Mark Danielski. He wrote the book Happiness Economics,
Mm-hmm.
and it had a lot to do with socioeconomic implications and health, definitely physiological repercussions, as well as just how that spread out through a family as well. If one person was feeling more abundant, was more able to take care of the family, typically that unit stayed healthier,
Mm-hmm.
and so did the people in the immediate vicinity and community, and then the opposite was also true.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's amazing when you consider that on the U.S. map we're the only major city in Canada that's not on it, that a lot of important things happen here. And like, it's more and more stuff every day. The fact that Google DeepMind has only 2 headquarters in the entire world. One is in London, UK, the other is here. I mean, so there are things about Edmonton and Edmontonians that we can be very, very proud of. And I think you may not have been here yet when I mentioned this, but the latest issue of Avenue magazine has a wonderful article about AI. Other questions? Either? Yeah.
I have a question about, I think it was in Sweden earlier this year, maybe in February or March, when they implanted over like a few thousand people with chips.
Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something we might talk about during this course?
Sure. So it can make a lot of things quicker. If you think about the burden of having to get out your credit card and put it in something, and you can even just tap it on something, right? If it's already in your hand, then it just makes life totally seamless, right? So yeah, life is certainly going that way. If you think about, you know, we don't know exactly what the future will be, but the idea that more and more things that have been external to us, that are silicon-based, are going to be internal is just obvious. We don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but that there will be more and more. So probably, like the thing that half of you are doing now, typing on a keyboard, there will come a time when people just laugh at that. Why would we ever do that? It's so slow, you know. Why don't we not like direct from the brain, you know, input and stuff, or you know, gestures like. You know, where without seeing a computer or a keyboard anywhere, you gesture in a certain way and the whole room comes to life, and you know, so you can imagine that happening for sure. We don't know what all the intermediate steps are, and I think this idea of, implantable chips, well, you can already get it for your pets, right? Probably many of you have it for your pets, so they get lost, it's very easy to return the pet to you. I'm not trying to draw an analogy between human beings and pets, but on the other hand, in New Trail, the winter 2015 issue, it's really all about this course, and interviewed me multiple times and many other people teaching in the course. The thing that I talked about in one of the interviews there was humans as pets. And then the beautiful graphic on the front shows, a robot with a human pet. So yeah, that's something that may happen. And you can imagine that sentient machines may know more about human happiness than any human being has ever has, and could conceivably keep us extremely content, in ways we just never had thought possible before. So. All right, so we still have 14 minutes.
Okay, I have another question, and I'll try to be quiet. I find it interesting, like AI and some of the. So I'm obviously not a student. I'm a mom. Actually, my daughter's starting her first day of second year in urban planning today too. But my role right now, I work at EEDC, Edmonton Economic Development, and my job is in trade and investment. So one of the things I do is focus on the Edmonton Northern Partnership, and that's kind of what Edmonton's role is as kind of a hub, and actually largely medical hub for remote health with, so for remote health with northern communities. Now, even though our northern population is fairly small and maybe the size of Mill Woods, we have something special here with the long distances and the number of nations and different languages spoken, so that if we can figure out here how to do remote health and understand especially diabetic health and whatnot better in this region, there's also something that we can offer to the rest of the world or larger markets like China and India and whoever else might need it. So one of the things I find fascinating being here with Amy, Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, and DeepMind, and having all of kind of this wealth of assets of these needs and these challenges here, so that we have an opportunity to possibly be able to kind of read when needs are, kind of see the patterns and then see when needs are coming up before people get really ill or before things happen that normally when people, it's allopathic medicine, because I'm not in this realm at all, but people come to doctors after they've been sick, right? But they don't always know when it's leading up to it. So if we had something like a chip that could start to tell us, hey, your kidneys are being strained, or your pancreas is doing this.
Right.
This is the diet and the movement patterns and exercise habits that you need to instill now. Otherwise, things are going to come up. I think this could be really, really fascinating.
Yeah, and part of what it suggests too is that privacy is disappearing in all sorts of ways, right? That we're going to know more about ourselves, and other entities are going to know much more about us in a minute-to-minute way than we previously ever thought possible. So. Yeah, you're talking about smart contact lenses that determine glucose levels and tears and stuff like that, and send you a little message to your retina if something's going wrong and stuff, very local, direct application of these things. Yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about the course. The course is structured in a way that assumes that you don't know very much about AI, but you should. So it has quite a few lectures about AI in the beginning of the course. But from all different points of view, and so it doesn't seem redundant at all. And because AI is really coming kind of like the whole world, you can, in a sense, never get too many AI lectures, just like you can never get too many medical ethics lectures, I think. You sort of need every aspect considered. So it's kind of a mixture of ethics, AI, and me in the start of the course, and then other things enter in, nanotech, sort of surgery in the body and stuff, and so on later on. And and you can begin thinking about your final topic as early as you want. And if the person you approach as a mentor doesn't, respond, I can help you, or suggest somebody else that you might approach. There's not very much required reading. The book that I sent you, State of the Future, 2017, is a very interesting book, but it's not one you'd sort of read cover to cover. You would find a particular section of that would be interesting for you for a specific reason. It comes out every year. I don't know quite when the 2018 one is coming out. I thought 2017 was cool because it featured Pakistan as their featured country, and we had a student here from Pakistan, so it's kind of interesting from that point of view. But I'll let you know when the 2018 one is out. But if you're looking also for suggestions of what else you can read, I can help you with that too. I don't like to think of the course as having a lot of required reading, but I also don't like the idea of you're taking the course and not doing any reading. I don't think that's good. So you should read quite in depth as you're preparing for your final presentation and paper. So any other questions, comments? Yes?
Can you clarify what the actual role of the mentor is for the final project? Or do they guide the final, like the research project?
Yeah, so the mentor can have a very minor role. If you're a very confident person and don't really feel you need much external advice, you can just tell me that. I don't think I need a mentor. You can be my mentor, and I'll just, have a short exchange. But a lot of people, because this is quite an unusual course, are a bit at sea of how to set about writing your paper or how to decide on a subject for the final project, sort of thing. I've had some misconceptions about mentors. One of the best presentations ever given was Aisha Harian's, and it had the phrase immortal coil, play on Shakespeare's words of this immortal coil. And I just thought it was so cool, and I thought that her mentor, Earl Waugh, must have given her that idea. But years later I found that it was her boyfriend who gave her the idea, nothing to do with Earl Waugh. So, but you don't need to get ideas from your mentor, just sometimes being able to just talk to somebody who's helped other students in this course and who has ideas about the easiest way. For instance, if you pick a fairly large topic, how do you winnow it down to 20 minutes for the presentation? Just things like that. How to structures. Yes.
So the topic can be on anything as long as it's like related to the course material.
Yeah, I think anything related to exponential progress of science, machine replacement of human labor, existential risk, those things. And yeah, I mean, I like novelty and surprises. You don't have to be surprising. But think of like the least appetizing subject, which would be the future of war, right? Isn't that really, really unappetizing? So one student did that, but as a video presentation, so taking the shy student, provision that you don't have to do a face-to-face video, you can shoot your own video. In a children's playground, these little kids, laughing and playing as he's talking about the future of war. And then there was the wind. That for camcorders you can get this thing to cover the microphone so you won't hear wind noise. So you hear this whooshing wind and the kid's playing in the background. He's talking about the future of warfare. And so that was, it was really, there wasn't a dull moment there. You were sort of riveted. It was somehow those mixtures of different metaphors, all the same video. Holy smokes, So yeah, and there may be some, you may have a special gift for doing things like that, or maybe you follow previous precedents of other people who've done things and can't imagine ever doing something that no other human being had ever done before. So that's also okay. I respect both approaches. The life without precedent and the life with lots of precedents. They're both okay. So other questions? Yeah, so the meeting in Spain, we're talking about stuff related to this. It's related also to the talk that we recently gave in AMI series, Machine Intelligence Institute on August 20th. Yeah.
Can we find out where people are from?
Absolutely. Let's we can start with this guy here, and we'll go around and everybody can introduce themselves and where you're from and yeah.
Where are you from, as in which country? Or
No, well, it can be that, but it can also be which faculty or which program, what your main interests are, and the reason for wanting to take the course and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name is John, and I'm a first-year graduate student from the Faculty of Biomedical Engineering.
my name's Joey. I'm in the Faculty of Arts. I'm in my 4th year, and I'm looking to apply for physical therapy in 2019.
My name's Ellen. I'm in the Faculty of Business, and I'm going into technology consulting after graduation, so I figured that this was a good area to be.
My name's Fresh. I'm in my second year of my science degree, still undecided on my major.
Hey, my name's Andrew. I'm in my 3rd year of physical science. I actually joined this class because my science advisor recommended me to come here. He said it was cool.
Wow.
So, yeah. If you see Kevin Brown, be sure to tell him hi, because he sent me here.
Okay. Yeah.
My name's Gagan. I've taken this course in the past semester. I'm in my 3rd year of chemistry, and I want to go to grad school for biomedical engineering.
I'm in my 2nd year of my graduate program. I did my thesis on renal function at high altitude, and I was recommending this course. I heard it's interesting.
Oh, cool. What's your name?
Andrew, sorry.
I think I'm too close. Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm in 4th year pharmacology, and I just stumbled across this course when I was just researching for options, and I thought it was really fascinating. That's why I took it.
Great.
Hi everyone, I'm Ishita. I took this course last fall, so a year ago. I graduated with my BSc, and I'm doing research in renal pathology with Dr. Solez for a year.
And my name is Joey Babinski. I already know I've got a job, but I find this subject very interesting and it overlaps with some of the stuff I'm doing currently. And I met Dr. Solez through friends and figured this could be really helpful to tie to industry as well.
Great.
My name is Guoji Hong. I'm the first year's PhD in the surgeries program. I'm a doctor from China.
I'm Gary Goldsand. I'm a clinical ethicist and I direct a place called the John Dossler Health Ethics Center, which is affiliated with the Faculty of Medicine and Dentistry. So in health ethics, we're curious in having discussions about the ethical issues that face healthcare all over, the current ones, but in particular the future ones. I think when I first decided that this was of interest to me 20 or 25 years ago, it was about what should we humans do with this fancy new technology that has all these promises. And so I think my role in the course will be to encourage you to think about those questions. What shall we do with all of this? And maybe why, if we have time.
Yeah, so Gary will be teaching next time, and I'll be in Spain, and then I'll be back presumably a week from today and teaching again at that point. So anyway, thanks for coming today. Yeah, and I like your thinking back.